in the course of the last 2 hours, we've heard a lot about the rural-urban digital divide. There's obviously another really important digital divide, which is as between low-income and high-income Canadians. And so I see in some of these reports, I see that 60% of low-income earners are connected versus 95% of high-income earners, which suggests that income is in fact the greatest digital divide across our country in many cases. And I'm curious, we've seen traffic up 4 times, according to, I think, TELUS. What are the additional costs up? And that's to TELUS and to Rogers.
I can't tell you exactly off the top of my head, I'm afraid, what's happening with our cost structure. It is obviously up, but a precise answer I wouldn't have for you today. But let me just address your first comment, if I could.
Before we get there, because I only have 5 minutes, it would be great to hear from your colleague.
Similarly, I think we've added capacity across the transport network and on the spectrum to support the increased usage we're seeing. And
I take it you're both, despite the additional costs and despite the 4 times additional traffic in some cases, both companies are still profitable at the time being in the course of this pandemic. Is that correct?
Well, if you studied the recent quarterly results, you will see there were differing sets of performance figures, and Q1 only had a small amount of COVID impact, but it is having a dramatic impact on future revenue surety. And while we're waiving overages and we're extending payment flexibility and deferring price increases and not disconnecting people that aren't paying.
So I understand not as profitable, still profitable. And Mr. Prevost, is it the same true of your company?
Yes, we've also removed our guidance for the year, which tells you what we think is going to happen.
And when we look at, I think this was a previous answer to a question from Mr. Patzer, which that overage fees, we see predominantly a number of Canadians have unlimited plans, but low-income Canadians in particular have more finite plans, and therefore we see overage fees largely, it's poorer Canadians that would be paying those overage fees. Is that correct?
I think it varies on the users, so it depends on someone's user package and what rate plan they're on as whether they would have had an overage fee. As we've said, we've waived overage fees while we're in this COVID situation.
I'm appreciative that you have waived overage fees in the course of this pandemic. It seems the right thing to do, though, on the outside of this pandemic as well. And I've seen studies that suggest that it's low-income Canadians that bear the overage fees to a larger degree. And it seems to me that if you're still profitable while waiving them, and if it is principally borne by poor people, overage fees are in many respects just a tax on poor Canadians. Mr. Prevost and Mr. Guerin, could you comment on that?
Well, we wouldn't make that leap. I think you're connecting a variety of things that we would not connect together. For example, you can buy an unlimited wireless plan for $75. In fact, during promotional periods, substantially less. And that's available to any Canadian, and we would think that would be affordable. If you turn to the wireline...
$75 a month, do you think is affordable to many Canadians?
For an unlimited wireless package. And if you move towards what we've done on the wireline side...
Mr. Prevost, you should come to Crescent Town in Toronto with me. You should come to Crescent Town and meet Canadians who absolutely would disagree that $75 is an affordable plan.
And we have plans that are much less expensive than that still have large buckets that you can do almost anything with. Again, usage in Canada averages 3 gigabytes. 3 gigabytes on the wireless side. And so packages of 10 offer you threefold. You can buy 3 gigabyte packages at substantially less than that.
Is that an average for low-income Canadians or an average overall? I know the answer to that. What are your companies going to do to reduce fees for low and middle-income Canadians by 25%?
We've already done it. Over the last several years, our fees have dropped by that much. As well on the wireline side, if you are in one of these communities that is at need, you can buy services from Rogers at $10 a month for unlimited connectivity.
So I can go back to my constituents and tell them we fulfilled our platform promise?
We have reduced it by the amount I just said.
Thanks very much.